Lieutenant He-Jin Kim looked out the large window of the Earth diplomatic vessel Culinary Bridge. The stars stretched endlessly before him, but his mind was focused on the task ahead. As the ship's xenogastronomist, he had to prepare for humanity's first diplomatic dinner with the Maori Alliance. He-Jin walked through the ship's main kitchen, checking his supplies one last time. The kitchen was not like regular spacecraft kitchens. It was big and filled with cooking equipment from all over Earth. The smell of various spices filled the air as he opened different containers. "Lieutenant Kim, the Maori ship will dock in 1 hour," the ship's computer announced. "Thank you," He-Jin replied, straightening his white chef's coat. He had studied the Maori for weeks. They were a peaceful species that had reached out to Earth after catching human TV signals. What interested He-Jin most was their extremely sensitive digestive system. His assistant, Jisoo Park, rushed into the kitchen. Her black hair was tied back neatly, and she carried a tablet with information about their guests. "He-Jin, I have news," she said, slightly out of breath. "The Maori just sent their final dietary restrictions. The list is 3 times longer than before." He-Jin looked at the tablet and frowned. "They can't eat anything above room temperature, and no seasonings at all. They say their bodies are very sensitive to chemical compounds. Even small amounts of spices could hurt them," Jisoo explained. He-Jin nodded and began adjusting his menu plans. He had prepared for this by creating special dishes that would be safe for the Maori, while still showing Earth's cooking skills. The diplomatic dinner had to go well. It was humanity's first chance to make a good impression through food. The kitchen door opened again, and Captain Lee entered. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and a serious expression. "Lieutenant Kim, are we ready for our guests?" "Yes, Captain. We've modified all dishes to meet their requirements. Everything will be plain and served at room temperature," He-Jin reported. "Good. Remember, this dinner could help build a strong relationship between Earth and the Maori. They specifically asked to learn about human eating habits," the captain said. He-Jin looked at his workstation, where he had prepared samples of various Earth dishes modified for Maori safety. There were vegetables cut into beautiful shapes, fruits arranged carefully on plates, and special bread made without any spices. The ship's computer spoke again. "Maori vessel approaching docking bay." He-Jin took a deep breath. Years of training as a xenogastronomist had prepared him for this moment. His job was to help different species understand each other through food. It was an important role in diplomatic relations. Jisoo checked the temperature of each dish with a scanner. "Everything is exactly at room temperature," she confirmed. Through the kitchen window, He-Jin could see the Maori ship connecting to their vessel. It was beautiful, with smooth silver sides that seemed to change color in the starlight. In just a few minutes, he would meet their first alien dinner guests. "I'll go welcome them," Captain Lee said, walking toward the door. She turned back briefly. "Lieutenant Kim, remember, today's dinner could be the start of a great friendship between our species." He-Jin looked at his carefully prepared dishes one last time. He didn't know it yet, but this dinner would lead to one of the most interesting discoveries about humans and aliens, and it all started because of something as simple as spicy food. The kitchen doors opened, and He-Jin heard voices approaching. It was time to make history, one careful, spice-free bite at a time. The Maori delegation entered the kitchen area of the Culinary Bridge with careful, measured steps. Their tall, slender forms moved gracefully as they looked around with large, silvery eyes. The chief scientist, Du Yen, approached He-Jin's workstation with obvious interest. "Welcome to our ship's kitchen," He-Jin said with a polite bow. "We have prepared a special meal following all your dietary requirements." Du Yen held up a hand. "Before we begin, we must show you something important." The scientist reached into a sealed container and pulled out what looked like a small red fruit. "This is the most dangerous natural substance on any of our worlds. We brought it as a warning." He-Jin looked at the fruit. His eyes widened in recognition. That looks exactly like a Carolina Reaper pepper from Earth, he said. A what? Du Yen asked, holding the fruit further away from themselves. You recognize this deadly toxin? Jisoo stepped closer to look. Oh yes, that's definitely similar to our super hot peppers. Many humans eat them for fun. The Myolri delegation moved back in shock. One of them dropped their data tablet. Du Yen's silvery eyes grew even larger. 4. Fun. This fruit contains compounds that could kill our entire species. One touch could burn through our skin. He-jin tried not to smile. Would you like to see something interesting? He asked. He walked to his personal locker and took out a small bottle. This is hot sauce I made using similar peppers. Would you like to watch me taste it? No. Several Myolri shouted at once. Du Yen stepped between He-jin and the other delegates. Please, we cannot allow you to poison yourself during our first diplomatic meeting. He-jin carefully opened the bottle. The Myolri watched in horror as he put a small drop on his finger and licked it. It's quite good, he said. I made it myself using ghost peppers and habaneros. The aliens stared in silence. Du Yen pulled out a scanning device and pointed it at He-jin. Your internal temperature is rising, they said with concern, and your heart rate has increased slightly. That's normal, Jisoo explained. It's part of why we enjoy spicy food. It creates a heat sensation and releases endorphins, chemicals that make us feel good. Captain Lee, who had been watching from the doorway, stepped forward. I believe we have discovered an interesting difference between our species, she said diplomatically. What is deadly to your people is a common food ingredient for humans. Du Yen was rapidly typing notes into a backup tablet. Fascinating. And disturbing. You say humans deliberately grow these toxic plants. We have entire festivals celebrating spicy food, He-jin said. Some people compete to eat the hottest peppers possible. The Myolri delegation huddled together, speaking quickly in their own language. Finally, Du Yen turned back to He-jin. We must study this remarkable immunity. It could help us understand how to protect our own people from similar compounds. We would be happy to share our research on human capsaicin tolerance, Captain Lee offered. But for now, shall we proceed with our dinner? I assure you all the dishes we prepared are completely safe for your biology. The Myolri agreed, but they kept watching He-jin with a mixture of fear and amazement. As they moved toward the dining room, He-jin heard one alien whisper to another, "They eat poison for pleasure. What kind of species have we contacted?" Jisoo leaned close to He-jin and whispered, "Should we tell them about our extra spicy ramen challenges?" "Let's save that for the next meeting," He-jin replied with a smile. "I think they've had enough surprises for one day." The diplomatic dining room of the culinary bridge shone under soft lights. He-jin had arranged the tables in a circle so everyone could see each other. The Myolri sat carefully in their specially designed chairs, still watching He-jin with a mixture of fear and wonder. Captain Lee started the dinner with a short speech about friendship between species. He-jin and Jisoo then began serving the carefully prepared dishes. Each plate contained foods that were completely safe for the Myolri's sensitive systems. These are earth vegetables, He-jin explained, placing a plate of colorful room-temperature produce before Du Yen. We grew them in our hydroponic gardens without any spices or seasonings. The Myolri examined the food with their scanning devices before carefully taking small bites. Their faces showed surprise and pleasure. The textures are interesting, Du Yen said, and there is no burning sensation at all. Everything was going well until Jisoo went to get more serving plates from the kitchen. She returned carrying not only the planned dishes, but also her personal bag, which she had brought to organize some kitchen supplies earlier. As she walked past Du Yen, the bag slipped from her shoulder. It fell to the floor, and several small bottles rolled out. He-jin recognized them immediately. Jisoo's collection of Earth's hottest sauces. The Myolri jumped from their seats as they recognized the red liquids in the bottles. Poison, one of them shouted. the deadly compounds. No, no, Jisoo said quickly, picking up her bottles. These are just my favorite hot sauces. See. She held up one bottle. This one is made from Trinidad scorpion peppers, and this one has ghost peppers and garlic. The aliens watched in fascination as she arranged her collection on a side table. There were sauces from every continent on Earth, each one capable of causing serious harm to a Maori. You carry these dangerous substances with you? Du Yen asked, moving closer but staying at a safe distance. Why? I like to add extra spice to my food, Jisoo explained. She looked at He-jin apologetically. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to frighten everyone. He-jin saw an opportunity for cultural understanding. Would you like to see how we use these sauces? He asked the Maori. I can demonstrate with my own food, far away from your plates. The Maori delegation huddled together briefly, then agreed. They moved to one end of the room, while He-jin took his plate at the other end. Jisoo handed him a bottle of mild hot sauce. This is one of our less spicy sauces, He-jin explained. He added a few drops to his vegetables and took a bite. See, completely safe for humans. The aliens used their scanners to measure his vital signs. Your internal temperature is rising again, Du Yen noted, but you appear to be enjoying the sensation. Different species, different reactions, Captain Lee said diplomatically. What is dangerous for one may be pleasant for another. As the dinner continued, the Maori asked more questions about human spice tolerance. They were especially interested in Jisoo's collection, though they wouldn't go near it. One young scientist, Taiwan, took detailed notes about each sauce. Your species continues to surprise us, Du Yen said near the end of the meal. We must learn more about this remarkable ability of yours. He-jin noticed Taiwan carefully collecting empty sauce bottles to study. He smiled, knowing this accidental revelation would lead to even more interesting discoveries about the differences between their species. In the Maori research lab aboard their ship, Taiwan carefully examined the empty hot sauce bottles through thick protective glass. The young scientist had asked permission to study them after the diplomatic dinner, and He-jin had agreed to provide samples. The lab's computers analyzed the chemical makeup of the remaining sauce drops. As the results appeared on the screen, Taiwan's silver eyes grew wide with disbelief. According to the data, humans should not be able to survive contact with these substances. Computer, check these results again, Taiwan ordered. The machine beeped and displayed the same information. The smallest drop of these sauces contained enough capsaicin to incapacitate a Maori adult. Taiwan called Du Yen to the lab. Chief Scientist, you need to see this, they said, pointing to the screen. These readings cannot be correct. The humans drink this substance directly. Du Yen studied the data carefully. Fascinating. Their biological resistance to these compounds is remarkable. We must investigate further. They sent a message to the culinary bridge requesting a formal meeting. He-jin and Jisoo arrived at the Maori lab an hour later, accompanied by Captain Lee. We have analyzed your hot sauces, Du Yen announced, showing them the results. According to our data, these substances should be lethal to any living creature, yet you consume them regularly. He-jin looked at the screen and smiled. Those readings are from Jisoo's mildest sauces. Would you like to analyze something stronger? The Maori scientist stared at him in shock. Stronger? Taiwan asked. There are more powerful versions. Jisoo pulled up a video on her tablet. This is from last year's hot sauce festival in New Mexico, she explained. Watch these people drinking hot sauce directly from the bottle. The Maori gathered around the screen, their expressions showing a mix of horror and amazement. In the video, humans were happily consuming substances that, according to Maori science, should have killed them instantly. We must understand how this is possible, Taiwan said. Lieutenant Kim, would you allow us to study your biology? Perhaps we could learn how humans develop this immunity. Captain Lee stepped forward. We would be happy to participate in a joint research project. This could help both our species understand each other better. I have a suggestion, He-Jin said. Why don't we set up a proper scientific study? We can start with the mildest spices and document human reactions to different heat levels. Taiwan was already preparing research equipment. We could measure physical responses, chemical reactions, and biological adaptations. This could be groundbreaking research. Do-Yen nodded in agreement. The Myolri Science Council will want to know how humans can survive these compounds. This discovery could change our understanding of biology. As the scientists discussed their plans, Jisoo whispered to He-Jin, "Should we tell them about the spicy noodle challenge videos on the internet? Let's save those for after they finish their initial research," He-Jin replied quietly. "We don't want to overwhelm them with too many surprises at once." The meeting ended with plans for a full scientific investigation. As they left the Myolri lab, He-Jin noticed Ha-Won still staring at the hot sauce bottles with a mixture of fear and scientific curiosity. This simple difference between their species was about to become one of the most interesting research projects in human-alien relations. The joint research laboratory aboard the culinary bridge buzzed with activity. He-Jin and Jisoo worked alongside Myolri biochemist Yu-Jin, studying the remarkable differences between their species. Large screens displayed complex data about human and Myolri biology. "These readings are extraordinary," Yu-Jin said, examining He-Jin's test results. "Your pain receptors respond to capsaicin, but your body processes it without damage. Our species would experience severe internal burns from even the smallest amount." He-Jin watched as the computer created detailed images of how human bodies handled spicy compounds. "It's interesting to see the scientific explanation for something we take for granted," he said. "Humans have been eating spicy food for thousands of years." Yu-Jin moved to another screen showing historical data. "We found mentions of these substances in your historical records. Your people deliberately cultivated stronger varieties over time. Why would you do this?" Jisoo, who was organizing samples of different peppers, joined the conversation. "Many human cultures believe spicy food has health benefits. Some people also enjoy the sensation and the endorphin release that follows." The laboratory door opened, and Do-Yen entered with Captain Lee. They had come to check on the research progress. The screen showed comparisons between human and Myolri cellular structures. "We have made an important discovery," Yu-Jin announced, pointing to the data. "Human cell membranes have a unique structure that allows them to process capsaicin compounds. Our cells break down on contact." Captain Lee studied the displays with interest. "Could this research help develop protective measures for the Myolri?" she asked. "Perhaps," Do-Yen replied. "Understanding how humans resist these compounds might help us create better safety procedures. Already, we have improved our protective gear based on this research." He-Jin noticed something on one of the screens. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a graph. "The way humans process capsaicin is similar to how the Myolri handle certain minerals in their diet. We might be more alike than we thought." Yu-Jin quickly analyzed the comparison. "You're right. Both processes involve cellular adaptation to potentially harmful substances. Our bodies just adapted to different compounds over time." As they discussed the findings, Jisoo prepared a demonstration. She had arranged a series of hot sauces in order of strength, from mild to extreme. Each bottle was carefully labeled with its Scoville heat rating. This helps explain why humans can build tolerance to spicy food, she explained to the fascinated Myolri scientists. "Our bodies learn to handle stronger concentrations over time." Do-Yen made careful notes. "This could change our understanding of biological adaptation. Your species has turned a defense mechanism into a source of pleasure." "The most remarkable thing," Yu-Jin added, "is that humans actively seek out these experiences. You have turned a natural deterrent into a cultural phenomenon." He-Jin smiled as he watched the Myolri scientists examine his latest test results. What had started as a simple difference in food preferences had led to groundbreaking xenobiological research. Perhaps understanding how each species handled different substances would lead to even more discoveries. Should we show them the brain scans from when I ate the ghost pepper? Jisoo asked quietly. Tomorrow, Hejin replied. I think they've had enough surprises for one day. Besides, we still need to explain why some humans consider extra spicy food a challenge to be conquered. News traveled fast across the Myolri Alliance's communication networks. The initial report from the research team spread from ship to ship, station to station. Humans could eat substances that the Myolri considered deadly weapons. More surprisingly, humans enjoyed these substances. Du Yen stood before the Myolri High Council, presenting their findings. The large meeting room was filled with concerned leaders from different Myolri worlds. Behind Du Yen, a screen showed videos of human spice-eating competitions. As you can see, Du Yen explained, humans not only survive these compounds, but they also compete to consume the strongest versions. They call these events challenges and celebrate the winners. The council members watched in silence as the screen showed humans eating ghost peppers and drinking hot sauces. One council member raised a hand. Are we certain these substances are the same as our toxic fruit? Yes, Du Yen confirmed. Our analysis shows they are nearly identical. Yet humans have developed thousands of varieties, each more potent than the last. In the back of the room, Taiwan operated the presentation controls. The young scientist advanced to the next slides, showing the research results from the culinary bridge. The data clearly showed how human bodies processed capsaicin without damage. This discovery has important implications, Du Yen continued. Humans have natural defenses against substances we consider deadly. Their entire species has this ability. On the culinary bridge, Hejin and Jisoo watched the council meeting through a video link. Captain Lee stood with them, all three understanding the importance of this moment. The council seems worried. Jisoo whispered to Hejin, should we tell them about the medical benefits of capsaicin? Before Hejin could answer, a new message appeared on their screen. The Myolri were requesting information about all Earth foods containing capsaicin. They wanted to understand the full range of human spice tolerance. Hejin began preparing a detailed report. He included information about different types of peppers, global spicy food traditions, and the various ways humans used these deadly substances in their daily lives. The report caused another wave of amazement through the Myolri Alliance. Their scientists were especially interested in how humans had turned a defense mechanism into a source of enjoyment. Some even suggested that human spice tolerance might indicate other unique biological abilities. Your species continues to surprise us, Yu Jin told Hejin during their next research session. We found videos of human children eating spicy food. Even your young can handle these compounds. The news reached other alien species as well. The Myolri shared their findings with their allies, leading to increased interest in human biology. Requests for more information about Earth's spicy foods began arriving from distant worlds. Captain Lee called a meeting to discuss the growing interest in human spice tolerance. We need to be careful how we present this information, she said. We don't want other species to see us as threatening. Perhaps we could focus on the cultural aspects, Hejin suggested. Show how spicy food brings people together, how different cultures share their spicy dishes. As they talked, more messages arrived from the Myolri Council. The initial fear was turning into scientific curiosity. The council wanted to establish a permanent research program to study human biological adaptations. Hejin looked at the messages and smiled. What had started as a simple diplomatic dinner had turned into one of the most significant discoveries in interspecies relations, and it all began because humans could eat spicy food. Hejin stood before the combined Earth-Myolri diplomatic committee aboard the culinary bridge. The meeting room was filled with representatives from both species, all gathered to hear his proposal for a new form of diplomatic relations. Our differences in spice tolerance have taught us something important, Hejin began, his voice clear and confident. Food can be more than just sustenance. It can be a way to understand each other better. Behind him, screens showed images of various Earth cuisines alongside Maori dishes. The contrast was striking. Earth foods burst with colors and spices, while Maori foods were subtle and carefully prepared to avoid any strong compounds. I propose we establish the first cross-species culinary research institute, Heijin continued, a place where we can study our different foods, create safe recipes for both species, and learn from each other's cooking methods. Do-yin, representing the Maori Science Council, spoke next. This proposal has merit. Our research already shows that understanding human spice tolerance has helped us develop better safety procedures. Perhaps there is more we can learn from each other's food practices. Captain Lee stepped forward with additional information. Earth's governments have already offered a location for the institute. We can build it in a neutral space station, with special kitchen facilities for both species. Jae-soo presented the technical details of the proposed institute. The plan showed separate cooking areas with different environmental controls, research laboratories, and shared dining spaces with special ventilation systems to protect the Maori from spice particles in the air. We can create new recipes that respect both our biology and our cultures. Heijin explained. Imagine dishes that humans and Maori could share safely, each prepared according to our different tolerances. Jin, who had been working closely with the humans, added support to the proposal. Our research shows that humans and Maori have similar reactions to certain food compounds. We just react to different ones. This could be the foundation for understanding other biological differences between species. The committee members discussed the proposal with growing enthusiasm. The idea of using their dietary differences as a bridge rather than a barrier appealed to both sides. We could also study other species' food tolerances, Jae-soo suggested. This knowledge might help us prevent diplomatic incidents in future first contact situations. The Earth representatives were particularly interested in learning about Maori preservation techniques, which kept food fresh without any chemical additives. The Maori, in turn, were fascinated by human methods of safely handling potentially dangerous ingredients. As the meeting continued, Heijin shared images of the proposed institute's logo, a simple design showing a human chili pepper next to a Maori fruit, symbolizing their different but equally valid approaches to food. This institute could be more than just a research facility, Heijin concluded. It could be a symbol of how different species can work together and learn from each other, even when our basic biology seems incompatible. The committee voted unanimously to approve the proposal. Construction would begin within the month, and both species would send their best scientists and chefs to work together. As Heijin left the meeting room, Captain Lee stopped him. "You've turned a potential diplomatic incident into something remarkable," she said. "Who would have thought that our ability to eat spicy food would lead to this?" Heijin smiled, thinking about how a simple difference in spice tolerance had opened up new possibilities for interstellar cooperation. Sometimes, he realized, the things that made species different could become the very things that brought them together. 1 year had passed since the first diplomatic dinner aboard the culinary bridge. The Earth Maori Culinary Institute now stood as a shining example of interspecies cooperation. Located on a space station between Earth and Maori space, its distinctive architecture featured 2 connected wings, each designed for the specific needs of both species. Heijin walked through the Institute's main hall, looking at the displays showing the progress they had made. The most important achievement was the creation of the Interstellar Spice Scale, a standardized system for measuring how different species reacted to various food compounds. "The latest results from the toxicity studies are ready," Jin said, joining Heijin at one of the displays. The Maori biochemist had become one of the Institute's leading researchers. "We can now predict with 99% accuracy how any known species will react to Earth's spicy foods." The Institute had grown beyond its original purpose. Scientists from 12 different alien species now worked there, studying not just spice tolerance, but all kinds of biological differences in food processing. Their research had prevented several diplomatic incidents by identifying potentially dangerous foods before they were served at interstellar meetings. Jisoo had achieved her own success. She now ran the Institute's experimental kitchen, where she had opened the first human Maori fusion restaurant. The restaurant had two completely separate cooking areas and specialized ventilation systems to protect Maori diners from spice particles. Today's special is particularly interesting, Jisoo told a group of visitors. We've created two versions of the same dish, one with earth chilies for humans and one with Maori sweet fruits for our alien friends. They look identical but are perfectly safe for each species. In the research wing, Hejin and Yujin were putting the finishing touches on their paper about xenogastronomy, the study of how different species process food. Their work had become the foundation for a new field of scientific study. Who would have thought, Hejin said, reviewing their findings, that my collection of hot sauces would lead to all this. The paper included detailed analysis of how various species handled different food compounds. It showed that while humans were unique in their spice tolerance, every species had their own special adaptations. The Maori, for example, could eat minerals that would be toxic to humans. Captain Lee, now an admiral, visited the Institute regularly. She watched with pride as humans and aliens worked together, sharing knowledge about their different foods and cultures. The culinary bridge was the perfect name for your first ship, she told Hejin during one visit. Food really has become a bridge between our species. The Institute had also become a popular tourist destination. Visitors could watch safe demonstrations of humans eating spicy foods, while humans could learn about exotic alien cuisines. Every visitor left with a deeper understanding of how different species could work together despite their biological differences. As Hojin finished another day at the Institute, he stopped to look at a new display being installed. It showed the original hot sauce bottles from Jisoo's collection next to the scanning results from that first diplomatic dinner. These simple items had changed how humans and aliens understood each other. Sometimes, he said to a group of students touring the facility, the biggest differences between species can lead to the strongest connections. We just have to be willing to learn from each other. The Institute stood as proof that understanding and respecting differences was the key to successful diplomatic relations, and it all started because humans could eat spicy food.